Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Mo Show Live, everybody. Hey, I'm Morris Lilienthal. I'm really excited about today's guest. A lot of guests I have on are doing great things in the community, doing great things in their life, and young entrepreneurs. And some people just have that infectious personality. And my new friend, Jordan Moore, is somebody that a mutual friend of ours introduced to me a few months ago. And we had a socially distanced lunch and have gotten to know each other and communicated offline and on social media for the last several months. Really enjoyed following him and all that he's doing with his business and in the community. And so I'm excited to get to share Jordan and his passions and his business and everything with my community and get to know Jordan a little more. Jordan, let me kind of do a quick introduction. Jordan ChillCity Moore is the musician. I understand from following on social, he's a pretty good skater. I may have to ask you about that. He is the CEO and founder of Red Cardinal Effect, his business. That business works with entrepreneurs, individuals, nonprofits about branding and helping get out the word and events for those clients of his. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then he's also very passionate about being involved in the community, being involved in community outreach, being a community influencer. And I know one of the things that Jordan is doing, and if he could look outside the window right here at my office on the courthouse square, would make him smile, is to see all the people lined up to do absentee voting right now. And I know he's been working on voter registration with a lot of great organizations. So we're going to talk about all those things and some more. Jordan, Bud, how are you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, peace. How you doing, Mr. Morris? I'm honored. I'm doing great. It's a rainy day, but it's still progressive. So no complaints. I'm honored to be on the show.
Yeah, man, I'm tickled to have you here, and I'm really glad we got put together. And I've really enjoyed getting to know you and following what you're doing. Some great things online, and kind of tracking what you're doing, and inspired by a lot of what you're doing. I'm excited to share that out today. So, folks, if you are watching the live show here on Facebook, I'll be monitoring the comments over here. So if you got questions, you want to give a shout out to Jordan, we'll do it. If you do what a lot of people do, which is watch the show on recording, we will monitor the comments in the feed there. If you've got questions for Jordan and want to know more about him or any of the things he's involved with, put it in the comments below, Jordan, and I'll get back to you there. And if you're listening to the podcast, jump in and then you can reach out to Jordan. We'll put all of the links there in the podcast to how to keep up with Jordan, and you can reach out to me and I can put you in touch with Jordan if you can't get up with him otherwise. So Jordan, I got to ask, right? I mean, I know you get asked. I think I asked this when we had lunch that day, the moniker, your nickname, ChillCity. Tell us a little bit about that. I love it. I think it can mean so many different things. It brings a smile to my face when I say it. So talk to us a little bit about when people ask you about that, where did that come from and what does it mean?
Yeah, no problem. So ChillCity derived from actually a few books in the Bible. And of course, this is not to, get holy or try to force religion on anybody or nothing like that. But it was the book of Job, the book of Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Revelation. And just a synopsis of how I interpret those books together is there's a time and a place, there's a season and a reason for everything. There's some things in your life that you can control, and then vice versa. There are some things in life that you can't control. Of course, the things that you can control, you be wise, hold your integrity. But on the things that you can't control, stressing or worrying, that's not gonna create an environment for you to make the wisest decision. So ChillCity really just symbolizes, of course, the chill in itself is, just a calm, level-headed mind. Make sure you breathe through any given situation. And then city means, just something universal. So it's more or less like a mantra, like a Namyo Horenge Kyo. So that way, when people say it, they reference that with a certain energy or a certain idea to actually remain calm. And that's where ChillCity came from.
Well, I think we can all, take solace in that right now in today's, pandemic, that we all need to take a deep breath and understand that there's a lot going on, that we all have a lot of added stress. I mean, most people's day-to-day life is very hectic with work and families and other things they may be involved with. And then you add the pandemic and other things, and that may be adding stresses. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in that nickname or moniker to say, hey, look, just take it in, take a breath, figure it out, and you can kind of get through it. And I know that some of the things that you're sharing and doing on social media that we're going to talk about in a little bit are some of the things that you're preaching with that same vein and vein and frame of mind as well. So Talk to us. So you're a young entrepreneur, and I know that you've got your business that I mentioned at the outset of the show about Red Cardinal Effect. And I know you're doing a lot to help other businesses, nonprofits, individuals, artists to kind of get their name out there and branding. Tell us a little bit more about, when you started the business and what was the inspiration to start this business?
Yeah, no problem. So I started the business in August of 2017.
Okay.
Really and truly, it started off just doing strictly medical research. This may sound funny or just how it starts off, but I used to work microbiology, and one day I ended up getting bored, and that boredom turned into a cost-effective research on diagnosing respiratory syncytial virus. So just the concept, I've always taught, been in the teaching or the school system. So just getting that information or getting individuals to that aha moment has always been a passion. So after, spending time with my music, spending time, with research, I started seeing different ways on how to connect everything that I'm passionate about into one area. So especially now with everything going digital, people aren't really face to face, but people are really using technology. Entrepreneurs, small business, nonprofits, the whole nine yards, they're looking to really expand through social media, but not knowing how to send a clear message. So Red Cardinal Effect embodies, just about everything. Individuals who teach athletics or the science behind athletics, or nonprofits who are really trying to hit their target audience, or entertainers, models, actors, private contractors, the whole nine yards, getting them an idea to where they can actually not only be proud of it, but they can visualize it and getting them to that aha moment.
Yeah. Well, and now, it's one of these things like, for example, what we're doing right now is a great example of it. To think about this, that, basically 10 years ago, to try to say that you and I could have a video interview that people around the world could watch we'd need a television studio to do and broadcast links and, maybe half the engineers here in Huntsville to figure it out. And now you've got, just at your fingertips, very simplistic software that is very affordable and, really free in a lot of respects. You can get free
Right,
platforms of these types of software to do. And so that's one thing, the availability of the technology. But the other, which I think may be a good benefit of the pandemic, Jordan, is that you've got the mindset that people are now more open to it because they were kind of
right,
forced to do this, right? I mean, you would have this technology that was around before March of this year, but I think a
right,
lot of people weren't as receptive to doing it. And now people, hey, oh my gosh, I got another Zoom meeting. It's just like a phone call or anything else that they're doing, right? They're so
right.
used to doing these meetings or Microsoft Teams or whatever platform they're using. So I think that would be interested to talk to you in a year or two to see once everything hopefully settles out from the pandemic and we get back to at least back to somewhat of normal and how your clients are more acceptable to digital and more receptive to some of the things that you may be able to do to help frame their message and using digital and social to do so, because I think people are going to be more receptive to that, following the pandemic, just because they were
Right.
forced to be.
Right. Going back to what you just said, I think it's become the new normal to where individuals, like you said, were forced to become so innovative to still get that information or find ways to get information out. That even when this passes, because maybe of if it was cost effective or not, I truly believe people will truly still just use that same system or at least develop newer ways just to get that same message out.
Yeah. Well, and it, the great thing about this platform, social media and video work now is it's so more cost effective because of the cost of production and things that have come down over the last several years, that it allows a young entrepreneur, it allows a nonprofit who may not have a big bankroll or a startup business to get their message out, to put their branding out there. Or if you've got a young musician, if you were a young musician 15 or 20 years ago, trying to get found or get some notoriety and get some traction was a lot different than it is now.
Right.
And
Right.
so, it's just really neat that you're able to help those young folks and young companies to frame their message and do. So when you do that, Jordan, what kind of things do you do? Can you give us some examples of some things that you may have been doing for some of your clients, pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, some of the things that your company's doing to help get their message out there?
Yeah, sure. So just to, create a little diversity, before the pandemic, we were doing, many things, but one of the things is, working with nonprofits with creating flyers. If they have an event, and they needed flyers to put out, or they needed a strategy to, get that information out. Everybody's not, as savvy with, when it comes to marketing, wording, colors, imagery, like the whole nine yards. It really makes a difference. So really just, consulting, nonprofits or businesses or actors. Now during the pandemic, things actually picked up because individuals are really looking for that digital world market.
Mhm.
We end up shooting a commercial. So just to kind of dive into what, in detail, we'll meet up with, let's just say one of my last clients was Full Figured Fierce. Um, we'll go over a strategy plan. We'll get an idea of what do you want this content or this piece of art or this piece of work to represent. When people see it, can they see themselves in it? What type of message are you really trying to,
Right.
send? And we go through the whole nine yards, as far as what colors, because colors and visuals, they trigger something, if not subconscious. And that's one of the things that I really strongly want to tap into, is that subconscious. So anytime they even see the Mo show, they can associate that with either a smell, some type of sense. And we find locations for them. We add the music, so we do sync licenses as well. So we just really break down the whole concept of what it is to create some content. And if they're confident in it, we make it happen.
Yeah, and that's a good point because we're talking about helping them kind of figure it out and what they're trying to accomplish. So, a lot of times, and I'm bad about this, and whether it's something with some of the marketing that I'm doing here at our law office, or something with some of the social media stuff I do, or just as simple as a project at the house that I can't envision how this is going to look. I know some of the pieces of the puzzle that I want to have, and these are things that I want to accomplish along the way, some bullet points. But a lot of times we need help. That's what a
Yeah.
designer or a graphic artist or someone like yourself, your company comes in and says, okay, let's take what you're wanting to try to accomplish, and let's build a painting and paint a picture of how we can get there, and to put everything together, and how in today's times and on a budget you can do this with
Right.
video and graphicry and imagery, and maybe a short video or flyers for an event or whatever it may be, and do it. And you really, I guess it sounds like your company helps put all those ideas together and develops a
Right.
roadmap for them.
Right. I mean, and going back to what you just said, simply a lot of people, especially if they're, the CEO of the company, or they already have a lot on their plate, some just don't have time. They have the idea and they may even see it, but it's, do I have time to really pull these resources together? And what Red Cardinal Effect does, we make it convenient because we take on that load for you. Either we create the concept, or even if you have a concept, we'll enhance it to make it to where you can use it in a multi sense. And we handle the locations for you. We handle the type of music, if there's actors involved, to really make that what you want it to be. We really want you to be confident in what your brand says, because that really does mean a lot, to any business, any nonprofit, any entertainer, actress, model. Your brand, what people see when they see you or see your content,
Right.
that matters a lot.
What do they think about when they hear Red Cardinal Effect, or what do they think about when they hear this person's name or this company's name? And the last point I'll make on that, and it's something that I've had to learn in my career as a lawyer, and in a lot of the social media stuff that I really enjoy doing and doing this show, is while I'm kind of a micromanager and I want everything to where I want it and do, I've had to
Oh
learn
no.
I've had to learn that I've got to delegate some, and I've got to find trusted resources like a company like yours, or my legal assistants, or a virtual assistant who's great, does a great job with helping me with some of the finding, tuning, and editing of some of the end of the shows and the podcast. It's a point where what time is money in a lot of respects. And whether that's time is in tangible money or time away from your family or whatever that is, the most valuable resource you can really have is your time.
Right.
And there's only so many hours in a day. So delegating some of this out, while you may even have the capability of doing it yourself, is that the best use of your time and best use of your energy when you can hire someone else? And so that's great that you guys do that. Let me ask you along those lines, as a young entrepreneur who's been doing this 3-4 years now, what advice would you give other young entrepreneurs, or what would you say if you were talking to yourself 5 years ago? What have you learned? What are two things that you've learned the last 4 to 5 years that you wish you knew when you started?
One, I'll break that up into two. So to answer, as far as any advice that I would give to anybody else starting off, is be a sponge as much as possible. Individuals, they can tell when you're really enthusiastic, if you're really passionate about what you're doing. I've seen, and I've done this even when I started, thought I knew everything and, end up falling flat on my face. So, it's always good to have a mentor. I have a mentor for just about every aspect of my life when it comes to finances, when it comes to skating, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to fitness, like the whole 9 yards, because that really plays an important role. You always want to surround yourself with people who are where you're trying to go. So for example, we've had lunch and you have a lot of knowledge, and things that you're doing or things that you have done, that's my point B. So it would be wise for me not to, you know, approach you or even get information from you and then not utilize it. So even with having a mentor, make sure that you utilize that information that they give you, because once again, time, anybody, if they're, if you deem them to be successful, they understand that whole metaphor that time is money. So for someone to give 30 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour of their time to give you these jewels or these golden nuggets, definitely take that. If not that same day, do some research and then get back with them in the next couple of days. And, at least that builds that relationship that, okay, he's valuing my time.
Yeah.
So that would be one of the main aspects. And then of course, me going back to myself is be confident. If you have a dream or a vision, you have to be so confident in yourself that no matter what no one else thinks, like, it doesn't shake you. If it's your vision, and this may, get a little philosophical, but if it's your vision, it's not for everybody else to understand. When I first started Red Cardinal Effect, I had, friends, family, like, man, what are you doing? And sometimes I didn't know what I was doing. But, as time went along, and things became more clear, like, okay, I can connect this with this. Hey, I met with Mr. Morris. He gave me an idea of how I can, do this, have more positive use or productive use with my time. And that would be the next thing, is really just have a mentor, be a sponge. Be a sponge as much as possible. Learn as much as you can. And then, if anything else, find a way to give that same knowledge back, because somebody was, strong enough, or they believed in you enough to spend time with you. Find a way in some shape, form, or fashion to give that back as well. A lot of people, they don't understand that what can help you get to your destination a lot quicker or a lot more quickly, help somebody else. Help
Yeah.
somebody else. You may get there just that much more fast.
Well, a lot of wisdom in what you were just sharing with us there. And I think, with regard to the sponge aspect, that's so true. And I think, one of the things that I've been taught, and a lot of the things that I've been privileged to learn and do, is because I've surrounded myself and tried to associate myself with people, who are a lot smarter than I am, and who have blazed some trails that I wanted to head down. And, I try not to take advantage of their time or into their resources, but certainly say, hey, if you've got a minute to this, or look into what they're doing and kind of mimic that and take it, make it my own, because each of us has to do, like you said, you got to do what you're comfortable with and where your passion and your vision lies. But I agree 100%. One time I heard somebody say, and I shared it out on one of my tips one time, is I don't want to be this, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, right? Because if you're the smartest person in the room, there's a problem. And because who are you surrounding yourself, right? So you want to surround yourself with people who are like-minded, but have that vision that you want to have and do. And then certainly, as you said, I really believe that there is something about giving back, and that you will, without any expectation in something in return, and that when you do, things will come back to you 2, 3, 10-fold,
Yes,
just because
yes,
it's just as you're going to learn something else from that person that you're trying to help along the way and pick up.
right.
So let's kind of transition, because I want to leave enough time to talk about this, and if we got time, I'll pick on you about your skating, but I want to, because I am not a skater. When I went to the skating rink when I was a kid, it was to play video games. Everybody else was out skating and do this. I'm the
Crazy
fat.
taxi.
I'm the fat kid that was not skating. I was not. I fall hard. When I fall hard, Jordan. So, but I want to talk about something that I know you're very passionate about, and something that I'm super passionate about, and a lot of people that follow our show are passionate about, and that's community involvement and giving back to your community, being engaged in your community, being an influence and a positive resource for change and positive change. And so, talk to us before we talk a little bit about voter registration, something I know that's certainly timely here that you've been working on. Talk to me about, where does that come from? Where is that, fire in your belly? Where did you get that passion for giving back and getting involved?
Um, so a lot of people don't know this about me, but I've taught in private schools and then also in the public school system for uh, about 10 years,
Okay.
maybe eight plus years. And that was from, K4 all the way through eighth grade. So that was transitioned from private schools to a public school. And once again, going back to, initially how this interview started, it was always getting people to that aha moment. Like there's something about that when you make something click for somebody, or you see something click for somebody. I know
Mm-hmm.
you do a lot of community service with, with yards. And I know, we were
Mm-hmm.
discussing an experience that there's some things that you just can't teach, experience in
Mm-hmm.
itself, or maybe if you say something the right way at the right time, it clicks for them. And I know you had that experience with, family, or, many other people. And that's really where that passion came from. So for about 10 years, even past that, I was doing mentoring groups for, young kids, teenagers, teaching in the school system, um, teaching Bible study, the whole 9 yards. And that passion as far as community service just led out to where, how can I use my talents or my platform to not learn something new, but actually learn something that's going to be positive if I share it back with my community.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways that I was raised is, find a way to give back, because I've been blessed a lot, just not even with my business, with skating. I've been blessed with just wisdom, especially from individuals like you. So finding a way to keep up with that debt of as much as I receive has always been like that main push.
I love it. I totally love it. Folks, if you're just joining us, welcome to the Show Live. Our guest today is Jordan ChillCity Moore. We've been talking about Jordan's background and his company, Red Cardinal Effect, and now we're kind of transitioning to talk a little bit about his passion for community involvement and giving back. And I love that. And just, there is, I just really, truly believe that we all have that obligation to give back and help those around us. So, I think when we help the community, we're helping ourselves in
Right.
doing it. And I think we have an obligation to do that. And a lot of times I think you can't recognize something or don't know something until you are involved in it. And then you may think you know what's going on. You may think you have a vision for it. And then all of a sudden, without you understanding or knowing that it's going to happen, there is that moment. And it
Right.
just, either a light bulb goes off or another one goes off or it gets brighter or whatever. So talk a little bit about, I know, so one of the things that I've seen you doing, I know you had something with MSNBC, and I know you've done a lot with I think some voter registration drives and doing, talk a little bit about what you've been doing, some of the organizations you've been working with, and what drove you for that specific mission. Now we're going to kind of, let's narrow down what was the mission to get you involved with voter registration for the upcoming election cycle.
Yeah, no problem. So if individuals can remember, several months back, Huntsville had its first Selma March reenactment. downtown. That's when I first met Kathy Jones with the League of Women Voters of Tennessee Valley. I've seen Kathy, on Facebook, social media, but when we met, we end up marching right beside each other. So, of course, conversation happened, and it wasn't really, no stiff conversation. It was a genuine conversation, and we start talking about Harry Potter to, what can we do in the community, and with me being music and her having resources, we found a way to give back through education and music entertainment. And I always say this often that one of the best ways to reach individuals is the universal language, which can be music, food, or comedy. And we end up doing a music drive, a big music concert. We got a lot of press on that. We got a lot of coverage, a lot of support, and it was for education, voter registration, voter education, and that's really what jumpstart that off. After that, I ended up doing some partnership work with the Criminal Justice for Civic Engagement with their voter registration. Ended up becoming an intern for that organization. Later on, ended up getting a honorary membership with the League of Women Voters for some of the drives that we were doing. So all the way from League of Women Voters to the CJCE, all the way to Lift Our Vote with Jessica Barker, all the way with Vote Going Viral. I just been, at least finding a way to utilize my platform. And this goes back to that community service. If individuals, and I'm not saying I got the biggest platform or nothing like that, but if individuals hold me to a certain standard or in a high regard, if I can post something that's not only beneficial, but positive as far as education, or if individuals can look at me and say, hey, ChillCity, what is this voter registration, about? That exposes them to it. Because if you look at it, a lot of individuals, it's not that they don't want to know, they're really not exposed to it. You especially with this election cycle, you got the pandemic going on, you have such division going on just throughout the country that a lot of people, especially when the census was still here, the last thing that was on people's minds was the census. The last thing that was on people's mind was voter registration. So to use any type of angle new that can grasp that attention, as far as community service and get people educated, that was really the way to go. So it really started with just that conversation with Kathy and the League of Women Voters, and it transitioned to voter drives, music concerts, COVID relief projects. I did a COVID relief music fundraiser with United Way when the COVID, really hit and started affecting Huntsville. So just finding different ways and using music or using my platform, whether it's music or acting or whatever the case may be, just to get that in front of people's faces to bring awareness about it.
Right. Well, and your involvement with this specific mission allows you to use your talents and the things that you're trying to do, with regard to, Red Cardinal Effect. It allows you to take the talents that you do for your clients and direct that energy and knowledge into a different segment there. I'd be curious to know what have you found as we get ready to wrap up, because I want to be mindful of your time. But as we get ready to wrap up, what have you found have been some of the biggest hindrances to registering people to vote and do? And what are some of the things, I know we're wrapping up and probably time to register is already passed for this election, but we've got, we're going to have future elections out there. What are some things that we can do as a society? Because it does warm my heart, regardless of where you're voting left or right. I don't want to get into that conversation with anybody today. There's plenty of that out there on social media without me and you chiming in on it right here in our show. But it has warmed my heart for the last 2 weeks to look outside the courthouse here in Madison County and in Huntsville, Alabama, to see people lined up for weeks from 8 a.m. They're really there from about 7 a.m. to when they stop, doing this absentee balloting that they're allowing during COVID, the way they're allowing it right now. It's great to see that many people involved, regardless of which way they're doing, exercising their civic duty and their civic right. But what have you seen? Is there things that we as a society can do a better job of to help people to understand that they need to get out and get involved and be educated on the candidates and rights to vote?
Yeah. And how can I put that? And this is not in a bad sense, but Initially, when this interview started, when we were talking about, the upcoming segment for voter registration, is exposure, information, education. Education and exposure are so vital. It's not so much that individuals don't want to go vote, but one of the things that I've seen is they're misinformed. Um, they haven't checked their, voter registration status. So a lot of times they think that they're registered to vote, but when we pull them up, they're inactive. And it's something as simple as, um, you know, the mailing card got returned, or something as simple as that, to where they don't know what to do and they'll just give up. So the fact that you have individuals continuously being active and engaging individuals, but at the same time, even when this election is over, it will be great to actually see uh, any type of organizations create some forums, so that way they can explain the process of not just voting, but these different positions. What does this position, how does this position affect you? If you're minimum wage, or property, whatever the case, how finding ways to make the whole process practical in different age groups. I think that's so vital, to where you don't have this ripping and running during election time. Everybody's already ready. Everybody's already knowledgeable, especially targeted communities. We could host some forums to where we're explaining, this is why this is important, because it affects you in this way, in this way, in
Yeah.
this way. So that way you have more of an incentive next election, to focus your energy and have more use of your time as an organization doing something else, rather than really just trying to, scramble and get many people just registered to vote. But they already know why they need to register to vote, and they're confident in their choice.
Yeah.
A lot of individuals, they've told me, hey, I didn't know what I was going in there to do. And they, circling bubbles. And that's saddening to hear. So just that education, with individuals knowing confidently, this is who I'm voting for. This is what this position means. This is what this amendment means, and being able to break that down for themselves.
Yeah. So, I think there's two good points there. One is, education, really education on both issues that I was going to mention. And one is voter registration, and making it easy and explaining people, what they need to know about voter registration, and the key issues that we see probably would be something to help with. If you move or you haven't voted, these are some things you need to be looking out for, and then certainly knowing where your polling place is and that
Right.
kind of thing. But then when you transition into it, it's about education, and with regard to issues and topics, and whichever side of the fence you may be on, I think people need to be educated about that certain things, and that may be national scale. And then there's a lot of things with regard to local elections and state and local elections that you want to educate yourself on, with issues with regard to taxes, or with regards to certain benefits and things that are going on, or businesses and things. How does that impact your community? And more specifically, how does that impact you, so you can be, we all act more clearly and decisively when we feel better about our position, and we're more engaged to do, if I have a passion for doing something or I feel more confident about doing it if I'm educated on it, and I have made my mind up how to do it. Because if it's something that I'm not educated on and I'm not really fired up about, even though I know I might need to do it, I'm going to put it
Right.
to the back burner. And then half the time, Jordan, it's not going to get done. It's just not.
Human nature. Human
It
nature.
is. It is. So I want to wrap up and be mindful of your time, I know one of the things that you mentioned to me that you wanted to kind of talk to people about was, I know that you're not only with Red Cardinal Effect and doing some of the voter outreach you've been working on, but you're also very active on social media, and certainly, as somebody else who is, I love talking to other people about that as well. But talk to us a little bit about your tips and points, something that I know you recently started, and you wanted to share out, and talk a little bit about that you're doing on social.
Yeah, sure. So I started a new segment called Tips and Point last month, and it covers inspiration, three things that I'm passionate about: inspiration, business, and skating as well. So it's the first Tuesday of every month. So November 3rd, which is going to be the first Tuesday in November, I'll be coming out with the second episode of the Tips and Points, and it's going to cover skating. It's going to cover the three basics that help me out doing spins, and that's posture, symmetry, and also footing. So if you are a skater and you're just looking to have some healthy fun, hopefully something that I can say within this video or something you see can actually help you out. So I'm actually very excited about that. It's going to be November 3rd. And you can find me on Instagram at The Official Chill City or on Facebook at Jordan Chill City Moore.
Awesome, Jordan. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I love that kind of stuff. I always, when I can, take a short video or a short clip of something and watch it and kind of get some feedback and inspiration behind something. It just, it's a digestible, shorter version format of me doing something that doesn't take a lot of time, but I feel like if you do it, if I learn something that I can invest in it and go research and do more, and do. So
Right.
I think that's great. So lastly, what's on the horizon? What else other than the tips and points? What have you got? Anything coming out here in the next couple of months or the first of the year that you want to talk about as we wrap up?
Yeah, sure. Coming up in December, I have a new song that I'll be releasing. So a lot of individuals, they know me. I do spoken word, country, hip hop, pop, techno, jazz, the whole 9 yards. So please stay tuned. This is going to be a surprise with the type of music, but it's going to be very fitting for the weather. So please just stay tuned. Follow me on those social media platforms, and also stay tuned for next year. About mid next year, I ended up getting a acting role in an upcoming stage play that's called Right Man, Wrong Time. I'm excited about that, so I can add acting to my resume, and, and I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on that. I look forward to learning more about that. And Jordan, what we'll do for folks, if you're, seeing the video version of this below the show notes here in the comments, we'll put a link to your website for your business, and we'll tag you and put links to your social media handles so people can do it. But Jordan's putting out a lot of great content, informational, informative, and fun content out there. So, give him a follow on Instagram and Facebook. I think you will enjoy the content that he's putting out there. Jordan, thanks so much for taking the time today, and appreciate all you're doing to give back to the community, and look forward to getting to know you better and seeing these great things you've got on the horizon, my friend.
I am honored. Thank you. It's amazing to be on the Mo Show.
Well, thanks, Jordan. I appreciate it, bud. Folks, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Take care, everybody.